I'm Jacob Courtwright, and this is The Locker Room. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. We're here. It's like it's a normal week again. Now, I know this is coming out late on a Tuesday because our upload system is going under some maintenance, but still, it's a Tuesday episode of The Locker Room. Listen, if you want to stay connected with all things Locker Room, at TLR Podcast 615 on all your social media will get you all the access you need to find all things Locker Room. This episode is brought to you by FNX Fitness. Go to fnxfit.com. That is fnxfit.com for all of your gym and health needs. I used FNX products to get me down 30 pounds, and you can too for a happier and healthier lifestyle. Use your promo code TLRHOST. That is TLRHOST for 15% off your first order. Okay, so the name of this episode is Let's Be Honest. So we're just gonna, this whole episode is just going to be about being honest, right? Just being open about things. Let's talk about your feelings. Listen, I've been in therapy lately, dealing with some personal stuff, right? First off, for all you people that shame therapy, therapy's amazing. There's a person that you pay $5,000 a minute to sit there and just listen to you with no interruptions. They just sit there and they scribble how much they hate their lives on their notebooks while they're listening to you complain about your life, and you pay them $5,000. But it's awesome. Therapy's great. It lets your mind open up. But the most important thing I learned during therapy and going to counseling is just about being honest. So this whole episode is just about being honest. And yes, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about the name of my podcast while I was in therapy. I was like, let's be honest. I was like, oh, it's a good name for my podcast episode this coming week. So we're going to talk a bunch about the Olympics because I love the Olympics and I've been watching absolutely every single second. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, just being honest today, okay? So as many of you know, before we kind of get into the sports side, I have been dealing with some personal things, right? I just wanted to kind of clarify. I in no way did anything wrong. I in no way, am in trouble or anything like that. Because I've had a bunch of people write me that, and it's like, no. I didn't get, caught selling mounds of heroin, right? I mean, it was cocaine. But anyways, but no, I really do appreciate all the words that I've been getting over this past couple weeks. Listen, in due time, I'm sure many of you are smart enough to probably figure it out if you pay attention to any of my social media. So thank you guys for all the kind words, and keep that coming because it feels amazing getting that every single day, knowing that there's people out there that care. Now, into the honesty here. The Olympics shouldn't happen, if we're being honest, right? The Olympics is such a far-fetched, wildly insane, crazy idea that the fact that the Olympics has ever happened is mind-blowing to me. The Olympics is the only time in mankind's history, unless you go all the way back to Adam and Eve before they ate from the tree, right? That there is peace between everybody in the entire world all on one stage. Iran, Iraq, America, France, New Zealand, Russia, China, everybody can come together in a 2-week span, and we can have world peace for 2 weeks for the Olympics. And here's the deal. Everybody that says, world peace can never be achieved, I call bull. Just have the Olympics all the time. Sports literally bring the world together. People swimming, people doing archery, people doing triathlons brings the world together. Peace and harmony for 2 weeks. The fact that the Olympics can happen is mind-blowing. Like, America bombs Syria, and then 2 weeks later, America is swimming against Syria. And we're congratulating everybody. Everybody's hugging from around the world, giving high fives. Literally, our American gymnastics team, our men's team, was fist bumping and hugging the Russians when they got done performing in China. And it's like, if you listen to the news, everybody basically hates everybody. And there's never world peace. There's always some tragedy going on in the world. But the Olympics can somehow get all of that to stop. Like I said, America could bomb Syria, and then we could play them in basketball. What? In what other universe? That's like I go to your house, punch your mom in the face, and then you cook me dinner. Like, it makes no sense. The fact that the Olympics can happen makes zero sense. Yes, guys, this is what goes through my mind, by the way, 9 times out of 10 throughout the day. Crazy crap like I'm bringing to you today. But think about it. How can we be at war with Iran and Iraq and then turn right around and play them in badminton and everything's cool? Our leaders can just like fist bump and be like, the Olympics is awesome. World peace for 2 weeks. This is where my mind goes because it is mind-blowing to me. So let's be honest. The fact that the Olympics can happen is crazy. We all can agree there. Also, let's be honest about something else. When America wins gold in anything, and I speak for America because I'm American and I love this country, but when any team wins gold for anything and then they play like their national anthem and the other 2 countries have to sit there, you can't tell me that's not one of the funniest things in the entire world. I watched, I can't remember the athlete, but one of our American athletes, she won gold. It was for fencing. I know exactly what it was for. It was for fencing. I didn't know how fencing worked until this Olympics. I watched all of fencing. I watched our American girl who's 27 years old win it for our country, win gold. Phenomenal. So after she wins, right? They give you your medals. They go to a podium, and then they play the gold winner's national anthem. Listen, I peed myself laughing so hard because Russia and Turkestan, I don't even know what the name of the other country was. First off, there's so many countries in the Olympics that I've never heard of in my life that I feel like an illiterate moron when the Olympics comes around. They're like, here's Kazakhstan. They've been around for 700 years. I'm like, who the hell is that? That's a side note with how bad I am with geography and the fact that all these other countries exist. I'm like, I know China. That's recognizable. I know Russia. I know France. I know Japan. And it helps that the Olympics are in Japan. I know the United States. I know Canada. I've got all that. But when they're going like Yugoslavia and all this, I'm like, what? This is a thing? That's besides the point. That's just me being a dumb person. But back to what I was talking about. I watch our girl, say, can you see? And she's standing there with her hand over her heart, just crying while she's wearing gold around her neck. And the 2 girls that are sitting there having to sit through this, one girl is literally rolling her eyes, and then the other girl is kind of like half looking off into the stands. And it just makes me laugh that not only when you win gold, do the other people that lost have to endure the fact that they just lost and that they don't have gold, but they have to then sit through your country's national anthem. Let's be honest. That's freaking hilarious. That's like, I go to your house, punch your mom in your face, you then cook me dinner, you then give me a medal, and I play wagon wheel while you sit in silence for the entire 6 minutes of the song. If there's ever a moment in the Olympics that makes me laugh the hardest, it's when any country wins gold and the other 2 countries just have to endure that country's national anthem. And maybe that's just my sick humor, but I find that to be literally, I almost peed myself the other day laughing so hard. Let's be honest. If you do not like the Olympics and you don't watch the Olympics as a proud American or a proud Chinese person, I don't know, what do they call them? Chinese man and woman? Or a proud Russian. If you don't watch the Olympics, this is for everybody in the world, because listen, we're worldwide here at the Locker Room. A lot of people give a damn about what I think around the world, all right? But If you don't watch the Olympics and support your country, let's be honest, you're a piece of crap. This isn't the Super Bowl. This isn't the NBA Finals. This isn't the MLB, this isn't the World Cup. This isn't the World Series. This is none of that. This is patriotism for your country. And you want to know how I know that? Because people that I know very, very well, and I mean very, very well, that hate sports, want nothing to do with sports, could care less if sports have ever existed in their entire lives. Literally, I could call this man up today and say, hey, there's a gun to my head. If you do not tell me the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the greatest quarterback of all time, I'm going to die. I would be dead. Like, that person right there watches the Olympics. Because the Olympics isn't about just the sports. It's about pride for your country. If you don't watch the Olympics, and I'm not saying watch badminton, because it's hard, trust me. There's some of these sports that are just, it's like people do this for a living and we're celebrating it on a large stage. I thought you would get beat up for doing something like that. Like, badminton, there's ping pong, which is actually I've grown to like a lot more after watching it. Archery, all this other crazy stuff, right? There's a lot to dive into. And I'm not saying you've got to be a diehard fan. But if you're not at least watching Katie Ledecky, or you're not watching the USA basketball team even for half a quarter or for 5 minutes, just so you can get your Patriot card in for that day, just so you can say, hey, I support the USA and everything that we do and I want us to succeed, you're a piece of crap. I'm sorry. There's going to be some of you out there that might get mad at this, okay? But listen, there's some people in my life who hate sports, and they have watched a ton of the Olympics. Why? Because it's about your country. It's about supporting your country. It's about loving America and celebrating its athletes, celebrating its great. Let's be honest, it's about America being the greatest. Like, I know that's what I want. I mean, I want America to walk out there and just dominate all these medals and walk away with more gold medals or just overall medals than anybody. Why? Because I'm proud of the country that I live in. I love this country. So if you're not at home and you're not going to turn on ping pong for 3 minutes, you're not going to turn on volleyball, which, by the way, as a volleyball coach, has been phenomenal. You're not going to turn on archery. You're not going to turn on swimming. You're not going to turn on anything for 5 minutes. If you're not going to do that, then I think we should just be able to kick you out of the country, right? Let's build a wall around those people that don't support or watch the Olympics at all. Like I said, you don't have to love sports to support the Olympics, because I get it. Some of you just can't. Sports in your brain, it hurts. Your brain wants to explode watching sports, and I would never advocate for your brain to explode. Absolutely not. But turn on the Olympics. Make some dumbass post on Facebook like, oh, that one swimmer lady did great. Go USA. Bam. Your patriotism's locked in, right? Can we agree on that? Can we agree to just support our country during the Olympics? Because I love seeing all these other countries and their pride that they have for their athletes and their they're gathering in stadiums to watch their athletes perform. Like, you can buy tickets to go sit in stadiums in other countries to watch their teams perform. Like, that's awesome. But this goes for anybody around the world. If you do not support your country, we're going to build just a wall. Not a big wall, just a small enough wall to where we have to cram you all in there. And we can, look at you and laugh at you. Because you need to support your countries, people. Okay? And I'm talking about people like my father. My father won't watch the Olympics, doesn't care about the Olympics. Well, he says a smidge. And the other day, I made him sit down, and he's like, oh, this is actually not that bad. It's like, yeah. He's like, go USA. I'm like, yeah, that's what the Olympics is about. Country pride, man. Country pride. All right, we're going to veer off real quick because there was a funny story that I wanted to talk about that happened that I don't know if a lot of people really saw, but I watched it live, and my brother and I laughed for days about this. So, it's the men's triathlon. And if you don't know what a triathlon is, it's basically you swim a mile, then you ride a bike for 25 miles, then you run 10 miles or something crazy like that. Whatever it is, no human should have to do it. I'm pretty sure this is a form of torture. We just don't know it yet. But it's miserable. It looks miserable. after the mile swim, I would have just hopped out of because they don't swim in like a pool, by the way. They're in the ocean. So you're like fighting waves and like sharks for a mile, and then they're like, great, I know you're soaking wet and exhausted from fighting for your life for a mile by swimming deep into the ocean, but now you're going to get on a bike for 25 miles. And I know that after that, you're probably going to be close to heat stroke, but we really need you to hop off the bike now and then run like 15 miles that way. Like, that's what a triathlon is. It's psychotic to participate in, and all of you who do participate in it, you are the real superheroes of the world. Because that is the most miserable thing that I've ever had to sit through and watch, because I felt so bad for the athletes. But here's the funny story that went along with that. So, triathlon starts on the water side, right? So you get wet first just to piss you off for the rest of the races. So about 70 athletes are lined up all the way across this giant dock. They blow the horn, you jump in, you swim a mile, you get out, go to your bike, XYZ, right? Pretty simple. So, these like 70 people are lined up on this dock. There's a camera boat that's in the middle of it that was getting ready to back out. It was doing, some camera work, getting close-up shots on the athletes getting ready to go. Well, somebody blew the horn too early. So if you can imagine this, half of the field is not being covered by a boat, the other half is. So this boat's in front of like 30 athletes. So the first half that don't have a boat in front of them, they're not paying attention. They're ready to race. The alarm goes off way too early. These people hop in the water and they just take off. Boom. They're swimming. I mean, their race is getting ready to go. Then the other half of the athletes are being blocked by this boat. And then there's like 2 people at the very, very end that had a little bit of a clear lane and they could try and swim behind the boat. So the first half jumps in. They're not paying attention. The middle half is going crazy because they can't perform what they should be doing because the boat's in the way. And then these 2 other people at the very end jump in and they swim away too. So the people that are swimming, you've got to imagine when you're in a pool and, when you were younger and your mom's yelling at you, you can't hear anything when you have water splashing in your face and on your ears. So there's about 30 people that are just booking it. They're in the race. Then there's about 30 people. I'd probably say way more than that because the boat was probably a 30-foot boat. So there was probably like 40 people. Basically everybody except for 2 other people that were stuck behind this boat, and they're all flipping out and screaming. And then the 2 other people at the very end, they jumped in because the boat wasn't blocking them. So the boat realizes it's in the way, right? So it tries to take off as fast as it can backwards. Well, little does it know, it has 2 athletes behind them that had jumped in. So this boat on live TV literally almost chops up like 2 people behind him trying to get out of the way, almost runs into the dock and like fricks up the entire day. So 2 people almost died. The boat almost runs into a dock. Half the field is swimming. The other half is standing up on the dock screaming and losing their minds. And the best part is the group that was in front, the 2 people that almost died, they got out of the water pretty quick once they realized that a boat was getting ready to chop them up. But the other 30 people that have already been swimming, they're like 0.7 miles into this, right? Like they're far. They're almost done with what they had to do. They're getting ready to get on the bike. And the best part is the Olympics goes, nope, we're starting over. So they finally get like 15 jet skis all the way out to stop that field that had been swimming for like 0.6 miles, 0.7 miles, right? So this field's all the way down there. They're exhausted. They just got done swimming almost a full mile. The jet skis finally get them to stop and they go, hey, because of the boat malfunction, we're restarting the race. And there's probably 15, 16 jet skis. There's also a boat there. Each jet ski has 1 person on it. The boat has room to probably take 15. So you would think, and I would think, oh, okay, the Olympics messed up. They blew the horn too early. The boat was in the way. It almost killed 2 other athletes. The other 30 athletes are sitting up on the dock still. Like, they're going to give us a ride back, right? No, they zoom up on these guys on the jet skis, just yelling at them like, yo, hey, can you get your asses back to the dock? And so we can get this thing started again? They don't even give them a ride. So these athletes, not to their fault, because the Olympics messed up, they bust their butt and swim like 0.7 miles. The jet skis come in front of them and go, hey, you know how you just swam? Like exactly what you were supposed to? And they're like, yeah, is something wrong? They're like, yeah, you need to swim all the way back. They're like, oh, what happened? They're like, oh, well, the Olympics messed up. They blew the horn too early. There was a boat in the way. So we're going to have to restart the race. So instead of them going, hey, hop onto my jet ski, let's get on this boat real quick so you don't exert more energy, therefore making you more tired when you're getting ready to swim another mile back to back, they just go, nah, you can swim back. Like, what? Listen, if a jet ski pulled up with only one person on it, and if a boat pulled up with only one person on it and room for so much more, and said, hey, listen, we messed up. I know you just swam half a mile, but also swim back and let's get ready to do this again. I would tell you to go F yourself, right? And look, at that point, if I was any of those 30 athletes, I'm protesting. I'm saying like, yo, nope, that's not going to happen. We're going to postpone this race for an hour so I can build my stamina back up, right? Or make the other half that was blocked by the boat jump in and swim half a mile and then swim all the way back. And now we have an even field. The two people that almost died, they're probably in panic mode anyway. So let those two people get done with their panic attacks. Leave them alone. They're fine. Even though they only swam 3 feet, they almost had a boat drive over their heads. So they're fine. Let those two people sit over there. But the other 30 athletes that were just chilling on the dock, you're not going to make them go swim and then swim back and try and even this thing out. Instead, you go, hey, listen, you know how we messed up? Yeah, well, we messed up, and not only did you just swim half a mile, but you're going to swim half a mile back, and also, we're not going to give you 20 to 30 minutes to relax and get your breath back. We're just going to say go the second you get back on the dock. I mean, I probably didn't do that story justice, but I thought that was hilarious. It was such a slap in the face to 30 other countries. It's you don't really matter. We all know some weird-ass country is going to end up winning the triathlon anyways. Ecuador. I'm pretty sure Ecuador did win it, or was that cycling? It was some weird country is going to win. I don't mean weird as in the people are weird. I mean weird as in you don't hear it every day, okay? New Guinea. That's a weird one that you wouldn't be oh, did you see New Guinea, win gold in 15 events? New Guinea's going to win anyways. It's just such a crazy event. And let's be honest, Americans, most of us are just lazy, and we don't want to put that much work into something that 30 people are going to watch. Basically, if you're good at it, your country's probably going to pay half attention, but not too many, let's be honest here. It's a triathlon, and it takes forever to watch. Let's throw that one in there, because I started watching it on a Tuesday, and it's Friday, right? That's how long the triathlon was. At the end of the day, it was just a funny story that a boat almost killed two people. Half of the field had to swim an extra half mile, and the other half got to stand there and complain. I just found it was funny. It was funny. Not the dying people part. That's not funny. I don't condone. I'm not laughing at death. I'm just laughing at the situation, okay? All right, let's get back to let's be honest here, because I think I'm veering off, and a lot of you are like, what the hell is wrong with Jacob? Listen, it's taken a lot for me to get back on the mic and have the energy to do this. So I might be a little wild here. But let's get back to let's be honest. Let's be honest. The USA men's basketball team is a joke. Here's why I say that. Now, I know I think we beat Iran by 39 points, which it really is not that hard. Okay? Iran isn't really known for its basketball players. The USA team has lost more games than it has. We're on a 25-game win streak. They blew that already. We have dominated the world for years. We just keep blowing that, right? And here's why. The USA men's Olympic team, while it is wildly talented, is wildly put together. Is probably the nicest way to put that. And also, we're going to get to Greg Popovich here in a second. I'm tired of everybody praising Greg Popovich as being this brilliant mind when Greg Popovich kind of sucks. Let's be honest. He is good in San Antonio. He is bad for anything international. In fact, statistically, he's the worst international basketball coach we've ever had. Dude's 3-6 in games that matter. He loses all the time, and there's a lot to it. So we'll get to Greg Popovich here in a second. But let's start with just the team and how it's constructed. The reason the USA is struggling is because instead of putting together a good basketball team, they put together a good all-star team. If this was the East versus the West, yeah, this roster is insane. Damian Lillard, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, right? You have Chris Middleton. You have guys right there that were all deep into the finals this year. A couple of them, Chris Middleton just came off of winning a finals. So did Drew Holiday. You have Draymond Green, a good role player who's been on championship teams. Like, if this was an all-star weekend, this is a pretty good team. But the problem is, this isn't an all-star weekend. This is the Olympics. This isn't who can score 147 points or whatever the new format is. They get up to like damn near 190 to 200 points because it resets. I don't know. It's very, very weird, right? But that's not what it's about. It's about team-centered basketball. The world plays, except for America, the world plays 1980s, 1990s, old school basketball, right? The three-point shot is definitely a lot more prevalent like it was in the later 90 years, but it's centered around a team. It's centered around ball movement. It's centered around defense. It's centered around positions. It's centered around a good point guard, a good shooting guard, a good big man that is literally just going to take up space and rim protect. That's what the international game is built on. And not to mention, a lot of these guys have been playing together for years, so I get that does have something to do with it. But I don't think that that's what it is, because you can go to the YMCA. You can go pick up in New York tomorrow, and if you have good teammates that know how to pass, know how to cut, know how to play good basketball and have a high basketball IQ, then guess what? You're going to be able to win games. You're going to be able to pick that up quickly. I went and played basketball last night, actually. And I got on a team with a couple of guys that have played college ball. I've been around college ball, played college ball as well. So guess what? It wasn't hard to play. We all played defense. We all rebounded. We all passed to the open man. We all took the open shot. You just played smart basketball. So I'm tired of the excuse of, well, the USA doesn't have a lot of time together. I get that. And that's probably part of it, especially when it gets to, if it's a close game, who's going to take that final shot? Is it going to be Kevin Durant? Is it going to be Damian Lillard or XYZ, right? So that does factor in a little bit. But the world plays team-centered basketball. Our basketball has gotten so soft in the USA. And you can tell by the way everything's officiated in the Olympics. Kevin Durant gets tapped on the wrist and he's, throwing his hands up, holding his wrist, complaining to the ref. You know, Devin Booker gets a little bit bodied. Next thing you know, he's whining, throwing his hands up. Damian Lillard, oh my goodness. If he takes a three and then falls down to the ground and throws his hands up one more time, I think I'm going to lose my mind. Basketball is so soft in the USA. All these little touch fouls, all these little check fouls. That is what's destroying the game of today. And that's why we even saw earlier this week that Adam Silver said, hey, we're changing the rules because we're going to make it a lot harder to get fouls. All these different basketball moves that aren't basketball centered, where you're kicking your feet out, you're leaning into somebody, all of that's getting ready to go away in the NBA. You want to know why? Because it's shown on the international stage when we're playing the Olympics that crap doesn't cut it. Our basketball's gotten too soft. Our basketball's too touchy fouls. Oh, he grazed my arm. Where's it at, ref? I mean, you're watching these international refs literally throw their hands up and go, hey, why don't you shut up? Why don't you continue to play ball? Because otherwise, you're going to lose to Syria. And in America's case, we lost to France after being up by like 15. Why? Chuck up a three, didn't get a foul. Guess what? Everybody starts pouting. So we're seeing these rule changes in today's NBA and going forward because it's being exposed on the international stage. Now, I'm not saying go back to Jordan's era, early Jordan's era, where they literally were, Patrick Ewing was punching people in the throat, and then they're just like, be a man. Let's not get crazy here. We don't want to go too psychotic, but we do have to get tougher. These little hip checks, these little touch fouls, we've got to stop with all that crap in the USA basketball. We've also got to stop with this one-on-one like our NBA game is. Think about it. If you have one or two all-stars in the NBA, you're a contender. In the international level, you're not. It's built, they don't really have superstars. I take that back. The only team that has a superstar is Slovenia with Luka Doncic, but let's be honest. Slovenia also is, I'm pretty sure, playing a bunch of like 15-year-olds on their team because there's nobody that can play over there besides Luka Doncic, right? I watched them play. I watched them win their first game. And if Luka didn't drop 48, Slovenia would have lost by 30. Just a fact. But it's not built around superstars like it is in America. America, it's everybody's superstar goes one-on-one 80% of the game, and then you try and lock that superstar up for the last minute and a half, last 2 minutes, right? That's not how it's played. That's not how normal basketball is played. While a superstar should elevate your team to win the game and should be taking the big shots, the game can't be centered around a bunch of superstars, because then you get what's happening with the USA in the Olympic team, which is Damian Lillard, Zach LaVine, Kevin Durant, all these guys just chucking up, Devin Booker, just chucking up anything and everything because they've got to get their touches in. They've got to get their touches in. See, the USA's just been bad at adapting to basketball. I wouldn't even say adapting to basketball. The USA's been bad at its growth of basketball over the last couple of years. We've gotten so whiny. We've gotten so babyish when it comes to fouls. We've gotten so superstar-centric that the game is getting kind of lost. How do you win in today's NBA? Well, you get a guy that's a superstar, and then you get a bunch of shooters around that guy. And that guy gets all his buckets, and when they crash in, you dump it off to the open guy. That's how you win in today's NBA. That's not going to work on the international level. And here's the deal. I wish our NBA would stay more towards the team-centered NBA. Stars drive the league. I get that. LeBron's always going to bring in the seats. But the last thing I want to do is see LeBron score 48 every single time and then get to a championship game, and the second he faces a real team-centered team, he ends up losing. Golden State Warriors, for example. That's just how it is. The better team always wins, not the better superstars. The reason the Bucks won the championship this year is because they weren't the better team, in my opinion, but they played like the better team the entire finals. Giannis was great. I mean, he had a 50 bomb in the closeout game. Like, Giannis was phenomenal. Let's get that straight. But he had a very good team around him. Chris Middleton did a great job. Jrue Holiday, while he wasn't spectacular, was efficient. Brook Lopez, while he wasn't spectacular, was efficient. They were a good overall team. They played good team defense. And so I thought that the USA was going to be able to kind of run away with this. When you look at that roster, it's like, it's stacked. But for me personally, the roster's not put together well. While you've got a bunch of superstars, you do not have a complete team. You have no rim protectors. When Bam Adebayo and Kevin Durant are technically your rim protectors, oh, I'm sorry, they got JaVale McGee now. You're in trouble. When you have no true point guard, like, let's be honest, Damian Lillard is a score-first point guard. He's a two guard in any other league. You've got no point guard. You've got nobody to manage the game. You know who would be perfect for this team? Rajon Rondo. Give them a point guard that can set up an offense, can get people open shots. Now, I understand the big man, it's hard to come by nowadays. But, I mean, it's just constructed. Like, if I was drafting a team on 2K, this is how I would draft a team. Oh, Damian Lillard. Oh, Steph Curry. Oh, KD. Like, you're just drafting superstars just to draft them. So that's the biggest problem. The roster is constructed by a bunch of morons. Now let's get to Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich has been great. Greg Popovich has done very well for San Antonio. He takes care of San Antonio. He has his own brand of basketball. That brand of basketball is not for the international level. You want to know why? Because that brand of basketball is slow it down, run plays, have continuity, play as a team. That's never going to happen. These players aren't together long enough to slow it down and run stupid plays from San Antonio. This is Greg Popovich's ego running amok. You know, they've got to run these plays. They've got to do all... No, Greg, let him play ball. Greg Popovich is not a very good international coach. And I think a lot of it is Greg Popovich's pride. You know, oh, the world's catching up to us. It's like, yeah, Greg, because you've done the same thing for 45 years. So maybe the world's catching up to you as well as a coach. His substitution pattern makes no sense. He's not playing any sort of cohesive basketball. He's just throwing mixtures of guys out there and saying, oh, we're going to try and run this San Antonio offense. We're going to try and run this play from... No, that's not how that works, Greg. Sorry. This is where someone like a Mike Krzyzewski, from, one of the greatest coaches of all time. This is why he was so successful on these international teams. Because Mike runs a very simple offense. Make your wide open threes, make your layups, play defense. That's all you need. The reason Duke is always so solid, except for the last couple of years, but let's be honest, it's the college basketball world's been a weird landslide the last 3 years, ever since COVID, it feels like. And a lot of it's these guys not being able to practice and all that. But, that's his 3 major rules. You're going to play defense. If you have an open 3, you need to make that open 3. And you need to make your free throws. And if the USA team could just do that, we're so much more talented than everybody that we should be able to walk away with these Olympics. So there's a bunch of reasons that we're not very good. Greg Popovich being one of the biggest reasons. The team, whoever put this team together, should be fired and never be allowed to put together anything ever again. I don't even care if it's a piece of furniture from IKEA. You shouldn't be able to put that together ever again. And the last reason that the USA basketball team sucks. Kevin Durant is not the best player in the world, and it's being shown on an international stage. Kevin Durant, everybody wants to, I'm one of those people, go off on him for going to Golden State. And everybody said Golden State couldn't do it without him, even though they already did. But this is what actual human beings say, which makes no sense to me. They needed Kevin Durant, blah, 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 blah. No. Kevin Durant needed them. Kevin Durant needed James Harden and Russell Westbrook. You want to know why? Because Kevin Durant has never been able to lead a team. Kevin Durant has never been able to say, hey, get on my back. I'm taking you to the promised land. You want to know how I know he can't do that? We just saw this happen. The Bucks versus the Nets. Injuries happen. Sorry, James Harden basically on one leg. Kyrie Irving goes out. Kevin Durant. Now, granted, he did hit that crazy fadeaway shot. But Kevin Durant didn't have the extra step he needed to pull out that series. And I'm judging Kevin Durant based on the same criteria that we judge LeBron James with. If that was LeBron James that fell 4 inches short and his foot was on the line, he'd be getting yelled at for not stepping behind that three-point line, not having the wherewithal of being behind the three-point line, right? Because that's what we do with LeBron. So I'm just doing the same thing with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's not the best player in the world. He's not the second best player in the world. He might be the third best player. LeBron James, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Until LeBron James falls off the face of the earth, I got to keep him up there. Giannis proved that he is the second best player in the entire world. Then I go Luka Doncic 3, Kevin Durant 4. I'm just being honest here. I'm just being honest. We're using the same criteria for Kevin Durant that we would LeBron James, because many of you out there want to go ahead and put Kevin Durant at the top with LeBron James. Just being honest. And lastly, we found out that Aaron Rodgers is returning to the Green Bay Packers. So let's be honest. Is Aaron Rodgers one of the biggest attention-seeking crybabies we have ever seen? Now, I know many of you are going to put LeBron James in that category, and listen, it's going to be hard to argue with you because LeBron James does whine a lot. But Aaron Rodgers goes through this entire offseason dilemma, entire offseason debacle, right? Basically says he'll never darken the door of Green Bay again unless the owners are, well, technically the general manager's fired. He wants the coaches moved. He wants this. He wants that. Just all these crazy requests. So for months, everybody goes, yep, he's done. There's no way Aaron Rodgers is ever coming back to Green Bay. And he's going on radio shows. He's trashing Green Bay, trashing how they treat everybody, blah, 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 blah. So Aaron Rodgers goes through all of this, goes through his meltdown, has his little pissy fit. And at the end of the day, Aaron Rodgers shows up to training camp on day 1. Now, he looks like a middle-aged woman with his long hair and his flip-flops and his manicured toenail, or a surfer dude. But I don't understand. If Aaron Rodgers felt so strongly about something, how all of a sudden is Aaron Rodgers back? And you want to know why? Because honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers just wants the attention. Honestly, I think Aaron Rodgers was upset that the Green Bay Packers had one over on him. Drafting Jordan Love, doing their own thing, not keeping him in the loop. So I think Aaron Rodgers got mad. I think Aaron Rodgers just said, listen, if you're going to try and make a fool of me, I'm going to try and make a fool out of you. And at the end of the day, I can't tell who won. Because both the organization looks bad, but Aaron Rodgers still looks pretty bad as well. You know, he's floating rumors out there that he was going to retire. He was saying that he's going to be a Denver Bronco. He'll never come back to Green Bay. And here's my thing. If you're going to say, without a doubt, I refuse to do XYZ, then you can't do XYZ. You can't say, I refuse to come back to Green Bay, and then come back to Green Bay. You want to know why? Because you look like an idiot when you do that. The people that say, I would never, and then the next day are doing whatever that is, I don't like you. Stick with your intuition. Stick with your gut. If you swear you're going to retire, then retire. Listen, I have more respect. I hate Green Bay just because I'm a Bears fan, you know. I would have more respect for Aaron Rodgers than I ever have in my entire life if he would have just said, listen, screw you, Green Bay. You either trade me today or I retire. And he just walked away and retired. In my opinion, Aaron Rodgers is the biggest whiny baby that has ever existed in human sports. LeBron James and Kevin Durant are probably tied for that second spot. But that's just me, and it's probably a whole lot of bias just because I hate Green Bay that much. I'm going to guarantee you it's a whole lot of bias because I hate Green Bay that much. But let's be honest here. Aaron Rodgers is back with the Green Bay Packers, and they're going to be good again. And as a Bears fan, I'm pretty sad. I was really hoping that the Bears were going to try and take over that division now, but for some reason, Aaron Rodgers is done getting his attention and is back with Green Bay. Well, there you have it. Our Let's Be Honest segment is in the books. Listen, if you enjoyed this, share it with a friend. Share us with a friend. If you don't have a friend, let's make a new friend and share it with them. Follow The Locker Room on all of our social media, TLR Podcast 615 for all things Locker Room. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Locker Room Faithful, I will see you next week. Once again, I'm Jacob Courtwright. This is The Locker Room.